In late 2023, TenZ tried to announce a mouse. Yes, you heard me. He tried to announce a mouse. A limited, bespoke, and all-around boutique head clicker that came in at a whopping $200 US, all without even so much as a whisper of its size or shape or just an indication as to what it would look like. Naturally, people revolted. The backlash was so crazy that TenZ had no choice but to backtrack on everything. Refunds, apologies, the works. But now, almost 2 years later, TenZ is back with a new mouse, and it isn't anything like the old one. So yeah, when this whole TenZ debacle happened way back in 2023, it caused a bit of a stir within the peripheral community. Having already done a collaboration with Final Mouse, TenZ set out to create a shape of his own, something that was actually molded in his own image. There was just one glaring problem. That image had no image. A $200 pre-order for a mouse that no one has ever seen is actually insane. But the question remained, how to fashion a perfect be-all and end-all mouse for the person who may just be the most notorious mouse switcher in all of FPS. And more importantly, how to do it the right way. Anyone who's ever watched TenZ play Valorant or even Counter-Strike knows that he is a fucking savant, man. This guy is an aimer. And because of that, he loves mice and puts a ton of thought into how they affect his game at a granular level.
I guess the way I would describe my passion for peripherals in general is it's kind of like a blacksmith looking at swords, right? So I'm looking for like the finest like made sword, like something that's just absolutely beautiful. I appreciate craftsmanship a lot, so I can respect really high quality products. I'm a bit of a perfectionist in a way, but then at the same time, I really appreciate the craft of like others. I think it's just more of like the passion for stuff, and that's kind of why I'm like dipping my toes into like making products myself, just because I want to like create something that is really high quality.
He did the hard thing. He took culpability and started over, this time with a partner.
It was kind of too hard to get everything set up and like fund it all, get everything figured out. Being able to monitor the quality control as well would be really expensive and really time consuming as well. So we are gonna opt to collaborate with a brand, but on the bright side is we can actually mass produce the mouse instead, not sell it within a drop, and then also sell it for a lot cheaper than what it was being sold for originally.
What came from that was this. The Pulsar TenZ Signature Edition. I received a copy for the purposes of a review, unpaid and totally above board. And boy, do I have thoughts. It has Pulsar's flagship XS1 sensor, up to 32,000 DPI, an 8K polling rate, 750 IPS, and weighs in at 47 grams. The mouse comes in black, for now, has no screens, holes, or RGB. You can change the basic settings using buttons on the mouse or stuff like lift-off distance with the custom software that you honestly don't even really need to install unless you care about things like angle snapping. In other words, this is a gamer's mouse. I literally opened the box, plugged in the already paired dongle, turned it on, and just started pugging. I'm 32, man. I've been using a wired Zowie for 10 years. I don't think that mice should be made of asteroid-grade vibranium or have drop dates or just require like a pilot's license to understand. And clearly, TenZ agrees, because this thing has the most basic, unassuming aesthetic I've ever seen, which really puts the emphasis on shape, weight, and performance. And to talk about those things, we need the guy who knows everything about stuff, or whatever the his title card says.
And now, the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
Hey look, it me. I'm the guy today, because I actually used the mouse while Colten was off moving around VTubers with an Xbox controller, or whatever, honestly don't know what he does. Anyway, the TenZ mouse. It comes with a cable, some dot skates, a TenZ sticker and card, which is cool, an instruction manual, and a dongle. That's it. Simple, but sleek. People are already memeing that he's just gonna switch off of this one within a month, like he did with his final mouse, but maybe the most important thing you need to understand about this thing is that TenZ made it for himself. In that sense, it is truly a signature mouse designed for a very specific type of user.
The mouse that I'm making is mainly for people that do either claw grip or like a palm claw. So it's like my own kind of style. It is gonna fit my hand really well, and people that have either similar grip styles to me, similar hand dimensions to me. I'm trying to make something that just feels really comfortable for that kind of grip style.
Now, the reason that matters is because it ties into TenZ's overall philosophy when it comes to mouse design.
There's not all one mouse that fits everyone. I think that's kind of like what Logitech G Pro's vision of it is like they're trying to make a mouse that's basically for everyone, which I don't really think that's optimal, because there has to be certain stuff with mice that caters towards certain grip styles. There's like fingertip players that like lower backs, kind of like more like final mouse style, or there's people that like claw, which need like high back, like XM1. I just want to create something that's really catered towards the style that I use.
I agree with TenZ that there is no one mouse to rule them all. Okay, like I have 20+ centimeter hands. I assure you, I cannot use a G Pro. I can't use 80 to 90% of the mice that are released nowadays. Is the frustration coming through in my voice a little bit? Yeah, good, because I'm kind of just getting started. I have used a Zowie ZA11 since pretty much the day it was released a literal decade ago. And it's not because I'm some curmudgeonly boomer who hates change. It's because I like an ambi mouse with a high back that actually fits my hands. And in 10 years, no one has made that except for Zowie. In fact, the closest that anyone has ever come was, coincidentally, a Pulsar, which for nearly 2 years I've substituted on and off. Now, it just so happens that TenZ's mouse is actually very similar to an X2H. If you actually compare them on elo shapes, you can see that the TenZ is basically a lighter X2H with a slightly elevated middle section and front end. I took one look at this thing and thought, oh damn, a mouse that I could maybe feasibly try. So I did. And holy shit. Within hours, I was hitting shots with this mouse that I could never hit with anything but a Zowie. It actually feels like an improvement upon the ZA, because since the back is slightly snubbier, it really rounds out into the back of your palm. And because the front end is elevated, you can really lay your fingers alongside it and steer it with more precision. I cannot stress how snug in the hands this mouse feels and how snappy your flicks are as a result. I've seen some people complaining that it's not light enough, but personally, 47 grams is the sweet spot. Any lighter and you lose that sense of heft that gives confidence to your crosshair. What's crazy is that I hate light mice, and I didn't even notice the weight. Because the shape creates this sort of perfect claw communion between the back of the palm and the edges of the fingers, you don't over flick or feel like the mouse is too feathery to cooperate. It has this sort of soft, silky matte finish that I really appreciate as a Zowie user, since I don't anticipate it'll scrub off as easily as the one on the ZA. It's also the little things that only someone like TenZ would think to implement. Like the fact that the edges of the underside are glossed, which allows them to slide on the mouse pad and makes them soft on the fingers when lifting the mouse. The rubber on the scroll wheel is also very supple and has that perfect amount of stick. On the whole, this product is just a pleasure to touch. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's very obvious that a lot of effort has gone into making every aspect of the tactility feel welcoming and inviting and just good in the hand, which kind of leads me to what might just be the craziest thing about this mouse. It is the perfect size, even though it's too small. According to him, TenZ has average sized hands, 18 centimeters or so, and built his mouse with that in mind. And yet somehow the shape is so accommodating that it makes my 20+ centimeter hands feel right at home. Is it a touch small? Yeah, undeniably. And I do notice it sometimes. But on the whole, it fits like a glove. And I think it's just because of my grip, which is why I think that this is an S tier design. I am head over heels for this mouse. For the first time in a literal decade, I have found something that feels better than a ZA, which, like, coming from me, there is no higher compliment. TenZ's mouse is so good that I have literally unplugged my Zowie from my PC. In fact, and this is sort of a personal request to Tyson on behalf of us big-handed lads, if you could make a slightly larger variant, brother, I would bow down before it and name it the GOAT on the spot. I would never use anything else. That would be endgame for me. I think that this is the best high-backed mouse ever made. And I think that the shape is so universally inviting that it could accommodate a lot more hands than even TenZ was anticipating. I agree with him that there is no one mouse for everyone, but I do think that there are mice that come close. And by my estimation, this is one of them.
And that was the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
So yeah, this TenZ mouse is nothing like the one that he initially promised. It's leagues better. It comes in at 129 USD, which is basically the price of every gaming mouse nowadays, but I really do think it's worth it. This is a well-built, beautifully designed product made with love and care and attention to detail by someone who gives a shit about the details. Unless you're a die-hard ergo user with like 23 centimeter hands or a fingertip user who wants their mouse to look like it was made for a hamster, do yourself a favor and give TenZ's design a try. Seriously. It was a game changer for me. Could be for you too.
Thanks for watching. If you want more content like this, hit the sub button and ring the notification bell. For unique bite-sized videos you won't find anywhere else, hit us up on our X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.